Hello, everyone. Hello. Thank you as well for inviting me to speak on this meetup. It was a topic that actually is very close to what we're doing, so I was very excited to talk about this. First of all, I'm Gerrit Plasch, head of technology solutions from a company called IPC, International Post Corporation. When I joined that company about 7 years ago, I never heard about it. So and most of you probably neither. Before I dive into that, within that company, I'm responsible for all the technology solutions that we're offering and the architectures that are sitting behind it. So let me very quickly introduce IPC, International Post Corporation. It is a world where actually everyone has probably been confronted with on a daily or not daily on a weekly basis, because everyone nowadays certainly probably receives parcels and packages from bol.com, from Zalando, from Alibaba, from all these kind of companies, from Amazon. And all these packages, parcels, they arrive at your doorstep in some way or another. Sometimes delivered by bpost, sometimes delivered by PostNL, sometimes delivered by UPS or DHL or something. So if you ever wonder what is behind that whole ecosystem, then IPC is one of the companies which is sitting behind there. It's actually a cooperative associating, which actually brings 24 of the biggest posts worldwide together. So we're talking indeed here in Belgium, bpost, but we're talking as well USPS in the US, we're talking Australia Post, New Zealand, China Post, Hong Kong Post. So we cover actually the whole world with everything which is related with what we call postal traffic, which is indeed, of course, still letters, but more and more it's about parcels and e-commerce and all these things behind it. So I often try to refer to it that we are the SWIFT. What is SWIFT in the banking world? Exchanging data messages. We are exchanging data about all these e-commerce parcels around the world. Yeah. So we are covering with our data about 80% of the world's mail volume because we're covering the majority. Indirectly, we cover about 208 billion of revenue. We are indirectly working with 2 million people worldwide and about 180 countries and 180 postal operators. Yeah. So, and what are we doing for them? That's actually, we're providing them a data platform. Yeah. So, and we call it a data platform as a service. So whenever you order something online and you order something on Zalando in Germany, actually on zalando.be, but at the end you're ordering in Germany, or you order something at eBay or Amazon in the US, yeah, it all starts with you here in the corner, sitting behind your PC and ordering something at an e-shop in the world. So that e-shop at a certain moment gives their data and gives their parcel to what we call the origin post. And the origin post actually gives it to a sorting center. A sorting center gives it to, on the airport, an office of exchange. Office of exchange put it on a flight, being KLM, DHL flights, whatever flights that we have in the world, as well Lufthansa and all these kind of flights, and they arrive into the country where the receiving post in for example, bpost will receive these parcels and will at the end deliver it at your home. And you saw that going, and every time that there's something happening, yeah, data is being provided. Yeah, a lot of data, meaning every parcel, every step into the process, yeah, the data is flowing, and the data is flowing to our database. So we're talking millions of messages per day. We're talking billions of packages per year, real time. Directly from scanning devices, from RFID gates, from different sources of data, it all ends up into our big database, and we have it ready to do things with that. So Very, very simplified view, a lot of data. We're talking about 3,000 RFID gates in 50 countries. We're talking scanning devices at the airports. We're talking integrations with all the airlines in the world. And that all ends up into a database. And from that database, you can start doing things. So we can do storing analysis. We're seeing how much things, how long is a parcel on its way, and so on. But the most interesting thing, and then bring it to the topic of the today's topic, is we can expose this data via API. And that's here the little building block, what we call e-commerce solutions, is we can now expose all this data via an API and saying, give me what is the status of my parcel? Where is my parcel? So whenever you receive an email, your parcel will be delivered tomorrow, and today it's entering the country, or it is currently with a driver on its way to you. If this is a parcel delivered by a bpost or PostNL, that has done an API call to our database and saying, can you please inform me where this parcel is? Yeah. So everything with this data is being exposed via APIs. Of course, we didn't be there from day one. We are existing about 30 years. And believe it or not, but probably you will believe it, but in 1989, this was done with Microsoft Excel. So all this data was just put manually into an Excel spreadsheet. The barcodes were scanned. We had like kind of devices we put in place, and we captured that data, and it was typed in Excel spreadsheets. And from there, the data was actually provided back to everyone. That outgrew of really an Excel spreadsheet pretty fast. So in about 95, we moved to an Oracle database. So we moved it to relational databases. That's what the era of the databases, relational databases, ERD diagrams. That was about the years 95. And that enabled us to give more data, to give more reports, to give more insights, but not real time. So in 2014, even that Oracle database was outgrown, and there was a more need for actually real-time data. Where is my parcel now? What can I expect? How much volume there will be on a plane? A lot of questions, data questions, which an Excel spreadsheet or an Oracle database would not cope with. So we moved to the Oracle Exadata platform, which is Oracle's high-end platform for data storage. And we started to build a full new model. We complemented the Exadata with a couple of big data kind of technologies, like an Elasticsearch, like an Hadoop cluster, and these kind of things. But the core was an Oracle Exadata database. So that was a big swift switch into our history. And in 2019, the story starts where actually Kevin was talking about APIs. Yeah, everyone doing APIs, an API on top of the database, an API to get it out of the database using PL/SQL scripts, SOAP, REST, key-based, user-based, whatever. So we said, okay, we need to bring some structure here. And we introduced that one first layer, what Kevin was saying, this API portal. We looked at the market. There are quite a lot of companies on the market that offer this technology. And I don't want to make it a sales pitch for Google, because we don't have any kind of relationship with Google on that one. But we ended up with Google APG as being our API platform. Yeah, I will come back later to it. There were a couple of good reasons to it. But that platform that gave us good features, it gave us Google as the backend, where as you see, our environment is global. So both in the US as in China, they needed to access these APIs with low latencies. Data privacy, where do you store the data? Yeah, is important as well. So China does not want that you store the data outside China, these kind of things. And Google, with not only their APG product, which they acquired at that moment in time, they offered this kind of possibilities to deploy globally. Yeah, so that was about 2018, where we said, okay, we need to do something on our APIs, and we need to bring governance, yeah, not knowing about governance with small g or big G in place. And that was our first step. Let's start exposing it all into one platform, this API platform, and let's start there. So that was quite a success. We tackled a couple of the bullet points of Kevin's slides, saying we were more uniform. We could do the security things into uniform more. The denial of service attacks we could centralize. All the access was kind of centralized without limiting the flexibility of the teams. But that brought us in 2020, where the data was even growing more, and we see definitely with as well the corona crisis, we see traffic increasing dramatically. We see data growing, and we said, okay, we need to have something more. We are busy with a big project where there will be new import rules into Europe as of next year. So as of next year, every item entering the European Commission will need to have a security check. Detect the bomb in a box, as they call it. Every item will do an API call to our database to check, have you provided the right data? Is the security audit happened? And that's quite the things. And we said, okay, but now we need to have one additional tools. And we introduced actually a documentation and a design tools. And there we've selected Swagger Hub. Yeah, Swagger Hub is our design tool and our tool which actually not is going to enforce our security policies, but it's going to enforce our standard into a flexible way. So 2018, 2020 were definitely a game changer for IPC in the area of APIs. So to repeat, where did we start? House, yeah, meaning it was nice that Kevin said, okay, you come from structure and island based. At the end, I said to Kevin when we were preparing this presentation, we were in chaos. Yeah, every application team, they created their own APIs. Yeah, meaning some used SOAP, some used REST, some used XML, some used JSON. Some used API keys authentications, other used username password, other used even kind of bearer tokens. So everyone did what they believed was good for their APIs and which was aligned with their backend technology. Yeah, so there was no alignment. The exposition to our users, and our users are e-shops which you want to display your parcel is there or there. Yeah, that was not streamlined. Yeah, meaning some needed to call a SOAP APIs, other REST APIs. User management was difficult to all these APIs. Performance came a thing. Yeah, everyone probably has ordered something at Zalando. The return form that is sitting into your Zalando package, yeah, is a form which is produced from our API. So volumes are increasing gigantically, performance, latency becomes challenging, and so on. So we had no governance at all, not with a big G, not with a small g. And we were designing where we were building an application. Yeah, we were building a returns application where we were designing the API as we went along. But the same way, that kind of thing gives us flexibility. It gives us ideas. It gives us new things. It puts us relevant into this whole market and useful to act as that backbone for all this e-commerce area. And we didn't want to use this flexibility. So our strategy was definitely, okay, we need to have a strategy. But definitely, and I'm now using the terminology governance with a small g and with a big G. When we were doing that, we did what we felt was right. And it was when Kevin came back with his presentation that it sounded that there is kind of a name to it. So the name given to it, we definitely went to the governance with a small g. Yeah, with a couple of key principles. Design before build. Yeah, so meaning we were designing our APIs now before we built it. Yeah. And that gives us flexibility because actually now we could start working in parallel. The APIs we're now working with, we have 3-4 parties that need to integrate. Our own development teams, the European Commission development teams need to integrate, local customs need to integrate, Post needs to integrate, and e-shops need to integrate. By fixing the specification up front, every of these 5-6 teams can integrate in parallel as long as everyone keeps themselves to the standard, yeah, the contract. But standard into a structure which provides flexibility. So common domains. You cannot imagine, or if you have IT people here, of course you can imagine how many possibilities you have to call a field name for an item identifier. It's always the same item identifier, but some use item ID, others use item identifier, others use ID. Yeah, all these kind of different naming conventions for one single business field. So we started doing that by calling it a common domain. Every API which needs an item identifier uses the same naming conventions of that item identifier and using the same limitations and constraints for that one. Yeah. How to pass parameters. Yeah, you can do it in a URL, you can do it in a query string, you can do it in a post body. You have hundreds of means to passing things. Okay, we said when you pass parameters, you always do it like that. Yeah. The way you give a response, the way you give error responses can always, there are 100 ways of doing it. We said if you give an error response, this is the way you need to do it. And within that kind of standard framework, the teams were able to work freely on their business needs. They didn't need to think on how to call an item identifier. They took that from the common domain. But if they have something specifically for their API, they are free to do it. But they need to document it. Security needs to be according to certain policies. We are ISO 27001. We have quite a lot of private data because we kind of know which parcel, which shoes, which retailer is sending to which address. So GDPR and who can access the data is a key element for us. So we have audited that by ISO 27001. So that needs to be built in. Yeah. Focus to self-service, meaning if you have all these APIs, and if you have 10 consumers, it's fun and to receive a phone call from every of these 10 consumers and explain how your API works. It's fun. It's nice. You feel enthusiastic because you have 10 users. If you have like 100,000 euros, I can tell you, you cannot take the call of every of the 100,000 customers anymore. Yeah. So you need to have a way that the user community can help themselves. So for that, you need to have a platform for self-service. Yeah. And on top of self-service, some of our APIs are open source, available for everyone. Others are more commercial of nature. So you need to have a way to monitor, track usage, bill usage, and so on. Good. So with these principles about 2-3 years ago in mind, we said, okay, what are now the practical steps that we have done? One is we need to have one single portal. So we followed what the market is doing and we launched developer.ipc.be. Yeah, just the same as you have developer.paypal.com, developer. Whatever that things. Every company that has and offers API has a website with self-service where keys, security, access control, load balancing, denial of service, threat management is done centrally. So that was our first thing. And that's where we chose an APG from Google to do that. Yeah. A limited tool set, so not 20 tools. So the second we thought that we could do everything with APG, but we came to a limitation in the design process, where we actually said, okay, we feel that there is a need for a second tool. And we looked at two tools that we looked at Postman and we looked at Swagger Hub. And we took Swagger Hub pretty fast due to the fact that we will go following the OpenAPI 3.0 standard. So if we want to move away from them, we can do that easily. Swagger Hub has a native integration to deploy to APG. It's quick, it's simple, it's in the cloud. So we started with that. From an organizational perspective, we didn't make one big architecture team which was the API team. but we identified in each of the team key resources. So we built that network. So each application team had some key resources which were taking that responsibility, which were kind of the evangelists about the tool sets we were enforcing. Yeah. And it was supported top down. Yeah. So meaning you need to have someone top down in your organization saying, okay, this is the route we go. Yeah. Um, so we launched developer.ipc.be, and on the right side you see some screenshots on that. Yeah, so that is offering us global load balancing, easy deployment, dev test, UAT prod, security, DDoS protection, reporting, all the things that actually Kevin has mentioned, as well as self-service where people can register, create an account, ask access to an API, and so on. In 2020, we introduced Swagger Hub, yeah, design first. So there, what we implemented is kind of the common standards, common domains. Yeah, on the right, you see a screenshot where you see, for example, domain receptacle, domain item. In this common domain, we put all the objects which are common across all our APIs. A parcel is a parcel. Yeah, a bag where that parcel is in is a bag. Yeah, that's common denominators, common things, so that we organize. And the tool Swagger Hub was actually providing that to us. And looking to my 20 minutes here, I'm going to end up with a couple of key takeaways. Yeah. Whatever you think, you will be in chaos one moment in time. Yeah, maybe forever, doesn't matter too much. Greenfield companies who start enthusiastic and who have the best ideas with we will do it and we will do it perfectly, after a couple of years you will be in the area of re-engineering. For brownfield companies, it's even more challenging because you have legacy systems, legacy APIs, and you need to actually bring everything together. So it's even more difficult. So you will be probably starting from a chaos model. So we recommend start small, but with a clear strategy with principles. Don't lose the chaos completely because it drives creativity. Netflix has even a name for that, which is calling their chaos engineering model. Yeah. So stimulating some chaos to drive creativity is definitely not bad. Yeah. But make sure that you expose and that you show it in a uniform way. Same documentation, same security, same look and feel, same structure, same this, same that. And in order to reach that, definitely tools are an enabler. A fool with a tool is still a fool. Yeah, so a tool will not solve everything for you, but it is definitely an enabler. Limit your tool set. Use tool sets that actually support standards. Yeah, so that you don't have a lock into them, but they will definitely help. So that brings me to the last slides. So whenever the bpost guy or the PostNL guy is standing at your front there and saying, and you have received the day or the hour before, your parcel is away and will be delivered tomorrow, what was behind that email was definitely an API call in a secure way, in a performant way, with the right data. So with that, I'm going to end my presentation and open the floor for questions and passing it back to Wout and Peter to check.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation, Gerrit. It was very interesting, and it's a company you don't hear about a lot, but of course everybody already consumes once your services indirectly.
Definitely.
We are a bit short on time, so I propose that we only tackle one question. But anyway, feel free to propose your questions. I propose that we handle them offline, and that we then post the answers on the LinkedIn group, if that's fine for you, Kevin and Gerrit.
That is fine for me.
Yeah. So, Stephanie, you will be the lucky lady, I would say. We're going to tackle your question during this call. So Stephanie was asking about the legal part.
I can maybe help out a bit if you want.
Yeah,
so first of all, thank you for both your presentations. I think they were very interesting and relevant. And in my current project, we definitely are facing the problems with of the governance with the big G. But from experience, mostly the legal part is very time consuming. So all questions related to data privacy and GDPR. And we also have that model where we start building APIs on top of APIs. So I was wondering if there is the approach of segregation of duties inside your governance model, and maybe an API management platform itself can support as well these type of legal requirements and lighten up the governance process around these legal requirements.
Yeah. Go ahead,
Kevin, okay. Maybe first from a practical angle, from an IPC perspective, I said we are treating quite some confidential data. There is a segregation in IPC of responsibility. So we have a chief security officer who is actually taking care of that one. He's using, so he needs to validate every API before it's been launched. Every API is penetration tested. We have security templates that need to be filled in to say which data are we exposing to whom and how it is protecting it. And we do audits on top of it, like ISO 27001 audits on top of that to make sure that that is being linked. So there is definitely a segregation of authority. And if the chief security officer is saying no, you cannot launch it, then of course you cannot launch it. What are the tools that has offered us is that even in the beginning of the project, we can start with these discussions. So we are not needing to be at the end of the process. We can give the chief security officer and his team the access to the designs before, so he knows upfront which data will be actually provided to whom, so he can start in parallel his work. And second, since we're always exposing it to one single way, once he have audited our API portal, he knows that all our API portals are secured into a similar way. So that makes it easier from him as well. So we gave him some enablers to do his job easier, but he still needs to do his job. Yeah. So does that answer a bit the question?
Yes, indeed. Some points I can take with me actually as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so Stephanie, from the Apogee perspective, I think an API management platform definitely has a role to play in this. And you definitely need a way to, for example, do audits, to see how APIs are being used, to get the analytics out of the platform. And API management platform is the best place to do this. But also there's a lot of different roles that are needed to work on APIs, and giving them all especially access to the data or to the configuration is something you can arrange in an API management platform.
Yeah, I'm going to add with a very, very small practical example of yesterday. Is we had a backend application and was running on CentOS, and CentOS is going end of life or end of support end of November. And okay, we are a bigger company, so someone forgot to mention that certain APIs are still running on these platforms. So that was, of course, an issue for our security officer. But the fact that this server was not exposed directly to the outside world, but via the APG platform, he could allow an extension. So he allowed us to use this platform for a bit longer, because actually this APG platform was giving us the layer of security. So that gave us that flexibility. In other cases, he would definitely have closed down that application and that API.
Okay, but then it also means that your security team and your legal team is also really involved and really knows how to work with the platform itself.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, we are kind of a technology company, so they are. But with the platform, they definitely, our chief security officer is a highly technical profile who knows exactly what and how to test and what are the legal constraints with that. So indeed, we have a legal and a more technical person on that one, yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I think looking at the clock, so thanks for the very extensive answer, Gerrit and Kevin. I think we'll have to wrap up.